Hi everyone, welcome back to Total War Therapy. Here we are again with a unit roster guide featuring the Chaos Dwarfs. First, I want to thank you all for the support of the last week. I feel good times are coming for this channel, so don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my video and we can start. The first section we're gonna talk about is the Greenskins and Hobgoblins units. We can start with the Goblins Laborers. They are basically a unit of mid shield. Their best quality is the number of 180. They have no melee stats, nothing worthy to mention. They have 0 armor, a very poor leadership that can be increased if there is a unit of Chaos Dwarfs in the nearby. They are easy to recruit and you can take advantage of them even in the late game if you need a very cheap mid shield to protect your flanks, your rear guard and your artillery units. They are expendable, so if they will root, this will not affect the leadership of your other units. The second and last expendable unit of this roster are the Greenskins, the Orc Laborers. They are still a mid shield but with a lower number and better melee stats like the charge, like the armor, and they are armor piercing. That is not a detail you should take into consideration because they will not deal any damage to armor units. Normally I prefer to recruit them compared to the other Goblin Laborers because they are the same but just stronger in melee. They are less defensive, but I can tell you that overall they do a better job and they are just a little more expensive. Hobgoblins Cutthroats. Here we are with the first actual front line of this roster. They have decent melee stats, not that much armor, but they are shielded, so well protected from missile attack. They have a bonus that increase some of their stats when their health is above the 50%. Overall, they are decent in the early and mid campaign. When you're starting to deal with the stronger army, I would suggest to replace them with the Chaos Dwarfs unit, but they do their job and they still can get an increase in their leadership if there is a Chaos Dwarf unit nearby. Hobgoblins Sneaky Gits. They're basically like the Hobgoblin but with less defense and more charge. They have the poison effect that reduce speed and other attribute in the enemy. They have Stalk and Vanguard deployment, so you should use them to sneak around the enemy, of course in the early game campaign, and attack missile units, artillery at their back. They can be strong if well used, but they require a little of management and you have to be careful because if charged by other enemy like strong cavalry and so on, they will go down very fast, but still a good option in the early campaign and they don't require all the caps of Chaos Dwarfs. Now we can start with the Chaos Dwarfs unit and with the Chaos Dwarfs Warriors. They, compared to other defensive unit of the same kind, of the same tier in other roster, I can tell you that they can be probably the best, one of the best defensive front line in all the game. They have an incredible armor for their tier, they have a pretty good melee defense of 44. Of course they don't deal that much damage with melee attack and weapon strength. You have to use them in a defensive way, and they have even the charge defense against large, that it's a quite good attribute if you think that Chaos Dwarfs overall, and dwarfs in general, they don't have many anti-large defensive option, and so they're quite strong. You can use them to protect the front line, your flanks. I'm just in love with this unit. You can even use them in the late campaign and they will not cause you a lot of trouble. The Chaos Dwarfs Warriors with great weapons. They sacrifice a little of defense compared to the normal warriors, but they get more weapon strength and charge. The charge, I'm not sure about how to use it because they are still very slow. They are dwarfs. They lose the shield as well, but they have this armor piercing damage that it can be quite strong. They don't have the charge defense, so you should put them in your second line as a support infantry and attack where in your front line, like if there are big monsters or tough characters, you can just address them because they will deal more. They will actually deal damage compared to the normal version. I don't use a lot of them honestly because depends in which way you want to play. In the Chaos Dwarf you can take advantage of missile powers, monster, so they are not that interesting, but still a valuable option if you like to play very defensive and with a lot of infantry. The Infernal Guard. The Infernal Guard is basically the normal Chaos Dwarfs warriors but with better stats except the speed. They're just more defensive with 56, that it's a lot for this tier. They have more armor, they're still shielded, still with the charge defense. I mean, most of the I cannot tell you that in every army I use them, because many times, even in the late campaign, the Chaos Warriors are more than enough. But if you want to upgrade your army, these are the best replacement option of your front line. They're just very good at their job, and with a more fire resistance, that it's an attribute that I'm still not sure how effective it is in this game, and yeah, very strong. Infernal Guard with great weapons, I mean, just the same of the Chaos Dwarf warriors with the great weapons, but far better at the stats. They have a lot of weapon strength, and I mean, not that much attack, and yeah, they have a good defense. Actually, you can, in this case, you can use them even as your front line, because they will have the charge defense also. So yeah, in this case they can be perfect to defend your flanks, because they will deal a lot of damage to cavalry and monsters that will try to attack your flanks. This is a unit that probably I suggest to use more than the Chaos Dwarf with the great weapons, because I mean, there are not other many units with the same job in this roster, and they are quite good. Infernal Iron Sword. They are probably one of the best melee defensive unit in this game. They are this infantry with fire attack, magical attack, so very good against any kind of demons, undead, and so on. They have an amazing armor, they are quite indestructible, and they're still in a good number. They are still 100, so wow, just wow. And they have this missile attack that it's just a couple of ammunition with a short range that basically they will fire when an enemy is approaching, and this damage is insane. With most of the enemy unit, they can just tear apart half of their health, so it's very strong. There is another regiment renowned with this attribute. I mean, it's the same of the miners of the dwarves, so use it in the same way. Oh, they are the iron breakers. If you are fond of dwarves in this game, they are very good, but very expensive. So I almost don't use them in my campaigns because they are far too expensive. And as I said, the Chaos Dwarf warriors and the Infernal Guards, they do quite a good job, so you don't need them. But yeah, if you want to overdo, if you want to be the coolest guy in the city, yeah, you can just fill your army of that and of them, and they will be indestructible. We can start with the missile infantry of this roster. First, the Hobgoblins archers. Everything I said about Hobgoblins and Greenskins is the same for them, so they have an attribute that their leadership is increased. If there is a Chaos Dwarf nearby, then they have an increase in their stats if they are above 50% of the health. Now, they are very weak. Sometimes they don't deal any damage when you're playing. I still use them even in the late campaign, but they are more harassing than actually deal damage. They have this fire effect that as I said before, I still don't know how effective it is. And yeah, they are the only arch missile infantry option in this roster. That's why they are worthy to use till your mid campaign, but at that point they can start to be just not effective at their job, and you should replace them as soon as possible. Chaos Dwarf Blunderbusses, they're probably one of the strongest missile units in this game. They have a very short range of 90, but yeah, they are still armor, so if they will be attacked by some enemy, they will not go down that easily. And yeah, they shot 3 bullets per ammunition. That's why they are so strong. You have to be careful at defending them. I normally put one lord on one hero in front of them just to absorb the charge of other character infantry monsters, and yeah, one or at most a couple of them is more than enough, because yeah, they will get in trouble very easily, but their damage is so powerful. They can tear apart entire armies in nothing, so be careful and use them wisely. Infernal Guard with the Fireglaives. We have a lot to say about this unit. They are basically strong as a normal Chaos Dwarf warriors, so they are quite defensive. You can use them even in, with the melee purposes. They have the charge defense, so they don't have problem to protect your flank if they will be charged by cavalry. Weak cavalry and some monsters maybe. They have a decent range of 145, not that much if you compare them to other missile units of other rosters, but they do an insane damage. It's armor piercing. It's very good against cavalry characters, monsters. So yeah, quite versatile. As I said, they are very defensive in the melee, so you should not worry a lot about them. But yeah, still very expensive. And they require the straight line that it can be a problem with your missile units, overall in the game. Now let's talk about cavalry. First we have the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders with spears. They are an harassing, expandable cavalry unit with vanguard deployment, so you can put them even closer to your enemy army to attack at the right moment. They're not that bad actually, they are shielded, they have a good charge unexpectedly, they have a bonus to attack the flanks of your enemy, and yeah, for their price and that purpose, they're actually a unit that performs quite well, so I suggest to use some of them, even because Chaos Dwarfs are not very fast, except like flying bulls, but yeah, they are, this fast attribute, it's something rare in this roster, that's why I suggest you to take advantage of that, and yeah, just be careful because they're very weak and they don't have an excellent leadership. Hobgoblins Wolf Raiders with the bows. They are an harassing cavalry unit. Compared to the melee counterpart, they have far less melee attribute, but they have these fire arrows that can be quite annoying, but don't expect them to deal any kind of damage. They are just supposed to distract part of the enemy army, and they are very fast, so they can go away and run away very well. Bull Centaur Renders. They are a very powerful monstrous cavalry. They're not that fast with 60, and there are some common attributes between all the variants. They cause fear, that it's a good quality if you consider that attacking the flank of your like missile enemy unit, they will just root very fast, very easily, and then they have some missile resistance that, it's always a good point. Now this version has the shield, so you will be well protected by missiles, not that much, and they are, since the shield, a little more defensive than the other version. Consider that the charge bonus in this unit is not that big, so yeah, don't rely completely on that. They are not a shock cavalry. You should they have a very good melee defense, if you see 48, so you should just stop them in prolonged combat. They will do a very good job, but yeah, try to attack the flanks or the rear and not the front. The version with the dual axes is the same, except he has anti-infantry damage, so it's better against, it's more specific against infantry unit, and they sacrifice a little of defense to get more melee attack and more charge bonus. So yeah, you have to use them in a more offensive, psycho-charging way. They will do a very great damage against infantry, you can rely on that. And yeah, when you start to specialize your Bull Centaur Renders part of the army, they can be a very strong option. And as I say, they don't need to be quite defensive or shielded like the previous version, so I would suggest to use just this. Otherwise, you can use the Great Weapons variants, that is more specialized against a large unit, in this case Cavalry Monster. They are a perfect unit if you're playing defensively, so other charging monsters and cavalry are trying to flanking you, or you are the one trying to charging and flank the monsters and so on. So use them wisely on the battlefield. They should be very flexible, so attack when there is the biggest dude around. And yeah, if you use them in this way, they will do an impressive job. They are some of the best anti-large units in this game, and very good. Let's start to talk about the beast. First, the Great Taurus. The Great Taurus is a flying monster of Chaos Dwarf with some common attribute with the other basically flying bulls. First, they have the missile resistance that, I mean, it's common to many monsters, but yeah, in any case, you should not be an easy target for enemy units. It's true that you can fly, you can dodge them easily, but it requires a little of management, so be careful in any case of missile attack. They cause terror, that is a very good attribute because they can make other units flee very easily. Then they have the blazing body ability that is common, as I say, to the other bulls, where basically they get more resistant with the time spent on melee. Now, they're not that fast for being a flying unit. They're just 80. If you think that many eagles reach more than 100, they're just not that fast. They have, an attack and defense that are not that big. The armor too, so they are not supposed to absorb damage. They have fire and ammo piercing attack, so you should use them more against cavalry, other monsters, characters probably, but yeah, they're not a tank, they're not made to absorb damage, just remember that. Bale Taurus, they're basically the most powerful version of the Great Taurus. In this case, they have far better melee stats with a lot more weapon strength, so you can still use them against other monsters, cavalry, but they can absorb damage a little better, so even if you want to use them as a tank, it can be a good option. The main difference between them and the Great Taurus is that they have a breath attack that, like the dragons, basically they can spit fire mostly when they are flying. It's a very good ability because it can, in some case, it can tear apart half of the health of some medium infantry, but they require a little more of management. I mean, with the breath attack, sometimes it's just hard to remember to put them out of melee, then do the breath attack again, and then again go back to the melee. So yeah, they require a little of management. Take that into consideration. But in my campaign, normally I don't recruit I recruit just few of them, because as soon as I can replace them with the Bale Taurus, I just recruit them and no more Great Taurus. So yeah, a very good option. The Lammasu. Now, they're a very strong, underrated unit. They have the melee stats that are lesser good than the other bulls, but they have some abilities that can be a game changer in the battle. First, they have more defense and more speed, so you can, they're a little more reliable compared to Great Taurus. And then they have the spell resistance, so they will be less vulnerable against magic. And they have this aura, but it's a very strong aura. It's of 20 meters, not that much, but it's pretty good. When they can negate first the magical attack of other units, and this can be strong. Chaos Dwarfs, they don't have a lot of physical resistance units, but like mostly characters, if you put them close to a character, they will make them far stronger, and then they silence the enemy. So if you attack a spellcaster, for example, with this unit, they will silence them. They will not be able to cast spells anymore, and this is such a powerful attribute that if you use it correctly, basically your enemy will be playing without the mage. Now let's talk about the demon part of this roster, the Kedai. The Kedai are demons, so they are immune to psychology, so to Chaos Fear, Chaos Terror attributes. They have some physical resistance, but they have problem with leadership, because when it will go down, their health will start to go down with it. So be very careful about that. Try to always keep a lord, an encouraging lord nearby, because as I say, the leadership is a key attribute in this kind of unit. Then they are Hellforged, so their health can be replenished, they can be regenerated by some particular heroes and ability. About them, they are armor-piercing anti-infantry with fire and magical attack, so they cause only fear. They are very good support of your front line, so put them in at the back of your front line and use them as a support. Don't rely on them to as a tank, so to absorb damage or to protect the flanks. They're not good at that. They are damage dealer, so what they're supposed to do is deal damage while other units are absorbing the damage. Deck Die Destroyer. Now, is the big colossal monster of this roster, and of course you can expect the same things I would say for any other colossal monster. Then compared, as I said, for the Kedai demons, it's a demon, so immune to psychology, physical resistance, health forge, so his health can be regenerated by heroes and abilities. And amongst all the colossal monsters, I want to talk specifically about that, about it. First, he has this bonus when his health is above 75, so they perform better when they are at the full of their health. They cause terror, of course, their speed is 60 and their charge is 30, so don't expect them to move around the battlefield and to charge units, because they are not made for that. What they are made for, thanks to a good melee defense for this kind of unit, thanks to a good armor and a good weapon strength, they're good to absorb damage. So just put them in the middle of your army, even in the front line, even before the front line, and absorb all the possible damage you can. They're very, very tough. They will not go down very, very easily, even compared to other colossal monsters. So use it in this way as a tank, not as a damage charging unit, and they will do a very good job. Now let's talk about the Chaos Dwarfs, War Machines and Artillery. First we have the Skullcracker. The Skullcracker, you have to think of it like a big chariot with the collision attack, with a good mass and an ability that increase the acceleration and so on. And you have just basically to flank the enemy, even very, very big groups of enemy, because with his mass and his charge, collision attack will just will be unstoppable. That's why, it's even in his card actually. He cannot be stopped, but he has not a very big speed, so it will be hard to fly away, to run away if some units will attack it, like characters. Characters can be quite dangerous against him, so be careful, but in all the game is probably one of the most powerful units. He can just tear down most of the enemy infantry in one single shot, so use it wisely and carefully, and it will do an amazing job. The Iron Demon is basically like the Skullcracker, but with the lesser melee stats and a decent, maybe a little less than decent melee attack. It has a range of 120 with this, the only good attribute of this missile attack is the suppress fire that will reduce the speed of the enemy hit, but except that, just use it. You can use both as an artillery unit before the battle starts and then just to charge around. It can be tough, but honestly I prefer to use or the Skullcracker as a fully melee unit, or the Magma Cannon, for example, as an artillery. But this half and half, not amazing at one, not amazing at the other, but just decent at both, for me is not something that valuable. The Magma Cannon for me is probably the best cost effective wise, is the best artillery unit of this roster, and it's a roster focused on artillery and missile gunpowder, so understand what I say. It's very, very good. He has this burnt effect that reduces the leadership, a lot of ammunition for an artillery piece, a good range of 380, and fire damage, and yes, it's basically very versatile because he can deal damage both to large group of infantry or to monsters, to helicopters, cavalry, to everything, because he has this big fireball that can destroy everything. I would suggest to recruit one of them in any of your army, because they are not that expensive like other artillery option, but they do an amazing job. Now the good old Hell Cannon. I didn't know if including this unit in this video, but here we are. It's actually, nothing to say, it's probably the strongest artillery in this game. game. I even don't know why it's considered less than the Dreadquake. I mean, than the Deathshrieker rocket launcher of Chaos Dwarfs, because it's actually better. He has it's very good. It's a very good accuracy. Basically, this fireball just followed the target, so it's very strong. Then it has a couple of abilities. It's unbreakable. I mean, it's far more than strong. I mean, I would be more scared than that than all the other war machines in this game. Yeah, use it carefully, and I mean, I don't use it because it's not a lot Chaos Dwarfy, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I have to say that it's a more than powerful unit. Now we have the Deathshrieker rocket launcher. As I said in one previous video, I don't like that much this unit. On the card it's quite strong with a couple of mods, one against single targets when basically just shot a big rocket, and another when this rocket just split in many other rockets, that it's more suitable for infantry and so on. But in my opinion, the Magma cannon, for, I mean, cost effectively, but even not, I mean, even at dealing damage, it's just better. There are many people that, I mean, say the contrary, but I mean, I tested multiple times in multiple campaigns and just doesn't perform quite well. He has just some cool animation, and for the sake of variety, you can use it. It's good at melee, at the siege battles, because he has a more arch line trajectory, but yeah, except that, I just prefer the Magma cannon, honestly. And to finish this video, we have finally the Dreadquake Mortar, the most insane artillery unit of probably all the game. Yeah, between the Dreadquake Mortar and the Hell Cannon, I don't know what to choose. They are so strong. But the Dreadquake Mortar is probably more scaring, because it has this big mortar ball that when they hit the ground, they cause a earthquake that keep causing damage to your units, and not only to the infantry like many mortars. No, they deal damage even to cavalry, to monstrous infantry characters, and everything, just everything, and it reduces even the speed of your enemy unit, so of 60%. So basically they will slow down them so much, and you will have all the time to attack them with other missile attacks. I mean, it's just crazy, this unit. He has no weaknesses. Just be careful, because it will be prioritized by your enemy. I had very many problems, and I had a very bad situation with a bone giant that just shot arrows only at it, and it destroyed in in a few shots actually. So it's quite vulnerable, but if you use it properly, it will do just an insane job on the battlefield.